Welcome to the SwimStrong Dryland Podcast. We are dedicated to inspiring and educating the swimming world. Our podcast highlights the work, character, and achievements in and around the SwimStrong community.
All right, we are here with Leah Shackley and Coach Tom Grassadonia. So excited to have them on the SwimStrong podcast. We will get some introductions from you guys in a second, but first, we got to start with our rapid fire questions. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, first question. We'll go Leah, then Tom. Favorite cartoon or movie character?
From Paw Patrol. Any of them, they're great.
Love it.
Vito Corleone, The Godfather.
All right. How about your best Halloween costume you've ever worn?
Mine, I think I was like 12. I was a dead zombie wife. That was pretty good.
Nice.
I think probably I don't remember 12, so that's going back a little bit. Probably my wife said we're going to a costume party, and I didn't have anything to wear, so I put a white T-shirt on. I taped a cereal box on my chest, and I put some ketchup on, and I went as a serial killer. So
that's clever. All right, I get it. All right, how about your walkout song?
Okay, Chill Bill by, I don't even know who it's by. Some Rob guy, I think his name is, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Chill Bill.
Geez,
Tom, what's your walkout song?
Coach walkout to Fins by Jimmy Buffett. I think that would be awesome. So.
Oh, Jimmy Buffett. My parents would love to hear that. A lot of Indiana people love Jimmy Buffett. All right, next up, funniest swim meet memory you have of the other person.
I'm gonna say the first time I dropped the F-bomb in front of Tom was after at high school districts, and his reaction was just like, I loved it. That was probably my favorite.
That's
moment.
hilarious.
Tom, I don't know if I have anything funny. We laugh a lot. It would be, and this is going to be a little, maybe a little bit of bragging, but when I think that when she qualified for trials at 14, and she just came up to me and just, I mean, I've never seen a kid bawl so much, but for such a happy reason. And I was just laughing my backside off. That, I mean, it was the greatest feeling, but she was just totally lost, didn't know whether to be happy. It was, I don't know. That was hilarious to me.
That's awesome.
In a great way, I guess, obviously. So
Yeah.
That's amazing. Next one is, what's a hidden talent you have that most people don't know about?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh, I can flare my nostrils.
All right, there you go.
That's all I got.
I grow roses. I guess that's, and that's
cool.
it, so, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
All right, yeah, two more. Next up is, what is your favorite swim meet meal?
Oh.
Lasagna. Has to be lasagna. I love lasagna.
I don't know. I think it changes every meet I go to. So we were in Charlotte this past weekend, and they gave us in the morning. They gave us these incredible grits loaded with everything. So I'm just going to go with the last meal. How's that? So, yeah.
And free meals are always great too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Last but not least, what's your favorite thing about SwimStrong Dryland? First thing that comes to mind.
The family aspect of it. I love that. I cannot stress that enough.
Love it.
I mean, there's nothing really clever to say here. It's I've just seen a huge amount of growth in Leah, and it's just her overall strength has just been amazing, and it's obviously transferred into the water. So I think that's
awesome. Well, you guys did a great job with the rapid fire questions. You made it through those. Some awesome answers.
Oh yeah.
And so I want to dive into getting to know you guys. Well, I want everybody who's watching to get to know you guys, I should say, and share a little bit of your stories, your background, at Leah as an athlete, Tom as a coach. We'll start with Leah here. I just want to, if you could share with people a little bit about your swim journey, how long you've been swimming for. I think a lot of times people see some of the things you've been doing in recent years and don't necessarily realize you started where everybody else did. And so I was wondering if you could share just a little bit of your journey and how you got to this point.
Yeah, sure. So I started swimming whenever I was 7, down in Cumberland, Maryland. I was on that team for 3 or 4 years. I guess it was 4 years. I moved up with Tom to Blair Regional YMCA whenever I was 11, and I've been there ever since. And then Tom, he was always like the head coach, but he I didn't have him every single day, like 11 to 13, because COVID hit whenever I was 13, right, Tom? COVID,
Sounds
13?
right. Yep.
Yeah. And that's whenever COVID hit, that's whenever me and him started working, just me and him at practice. I didn't practice with the Y up there anymore. But I had 2 other Y coaches, 11 to 13, and I was only going 4 times a week, nothing crazy. But yeah, just went from there. And then whenever COVID hit, me and Tom started working, and then we got serious, and then I found you, and life just, took off, I guess. And that's kind of awesome. Here I am now, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. And Coach Tom, what's kind of your story of how you ended up where you are right now?
Yeah, so I'm not a swimmer. I come from football. I swam competitively and from 73 to 77, I think maybe. And then
50 fly was his best event.
50 fly was pretty darn good. Don't force me to tell you what the time was, because I'd make up a lie. So but no, I was a football coach. I was a high school football coach. And my daughters swam. My oldest swam for Nova, Virginia when we lived in Richmond, and then when we moved up here, the club needed some help, and I kind of came in more of an administrative role. And then ultimately they needed a coach. And I'm like, I'm a coach. I can, and you kind of have to educate yourself in anything you do and anything in life. And so I spent a lot of time doing a lot of training for myself and hopefully some personal improvement and enrichment. And I knew I could coach people, but and I understood the strokes. I was an official, so I kind of understood what was right and wrong simply. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think Leah would tell you I probably applied a lot of my football coaching stuff to swimming. It's a little different, maybe. Some people find it. I think some of the purists are sometimes offended by it. But I can now say that I have been coaching. I've been running the program at the Blair Regional Y since I think 8, 7. So I've been here a while, and just kind of grow. Every time you've got an opportunity to do it. So a football guy becomes a swim coach. I don't think I'm the only one who's done that, but that would be my story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, even myself, I didn't come from a swimming background. It was not till after college that I got involved in the sport and absolutely fell in love with it. So I think you have unique perspective when you come in with fresh eyes, and when you love what you do and you're not afraid to just research and figure things out and care about people. I mean, you can do things that, like you said, it's funny. Some people may be, offended by certain things that you do, or maybe not like the way you go about certain things or whatever, but there's no reason for that. And that's something that's actually always struck me about both you and Leah, is you guys have crazy awesome energy about you, positivity, and just desire to be great, and you have fun together on the pool deck. But you're extremely humble, both of you guys. And you can even hear it just in your quick introduction of where you came from and kind of how you got started in the sport, Leah, and where you came from in the coaching world, Tom. And I want to go back to Leah for a second on this and then jump to Tom. But Leah, so you talked about didn't really swim that consistently when you were younger, wasn't really, anything you said we started taking it serious a little bit later on. So what were you swimming for when you were younger? What was a reason that you were swimming, and what do you swim for now too, I guess?
Back then I swam to be with friends, in all honesty. it was just like a fun thing. I was also a gymnast at the time. I was a gymnast until I was 12. And so, you know, it was just to have that fun thing, you know, that I do after school type of deal. But now I do it still for fun. I mean, if you're not having fun, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's just I know what I'm doing now. Back then, I felt like I was just, you know, like a kid. Like I didn't really know what I was doing, and of course, you grow over time. But now I do it because I love it still. It's my future, obviously. So I just love it. I love this sport.
Awesome.
It's such a interesting and different atmosphere, I feel, from different sports.
What made you fall in love with it? You speak like it's obvious that you really enjoy it. What about swimming? You talked about being with your friends. What about the sport itself made you like, hey, I want to commit to this as like my sport?
Because so it's a team sport, but it's also an individual sport. Like, you know, how you do, that's on you, but how you're growing and how you're working, you get support from others around you. And that's why I love like individual team sports, if that makes sense. I just think it's, like I said, different from different like sports where it's just like the team, you know. And so because of that, and also everyone, you know, that you're working around is so vulnerable because you're working so hard, you know, and everyone's feeling the same pain, right? You know, you're working all together and, but you're having fun at it. So that's why. Yeah,
for sure. And Coach Tom, you mentioned coming from a football background and then since 2007, 2008 now running BRY. What was that process like? What made you fall in love with swimming, and how did you really get to the point where you are now in terms of, hey, this is something I love coaching and I want to do long term?
Sure. So, I mean, it kind of piggybacks onto what Leah just said, right? I mean, there's that individual piece, and then there was the team piece. You know, and I started running the program. I was the guy running the program, right? And then I would work in certain groups. I loved working with the younger ones. I call them little blobs of clay because I think that there's an ability to mold, right? But you that whole team ability, going to swim meets, dual meets, whatever. A lot of YMCA stuff is duals, right? It's not as many invitationals as USA. So we were able to do that, but there was those little successes, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if as a coach, if you're not you can't get excited about a kid dropping a half a second, or in some cases 10 seconds on a, you know, if you can't get excited about that, then you're in the wrong business. Right. So at the end of it all, it allowed us to still have that team piece, right, that I had in the earlier sport. But then all of a sudden you really got to drill down and see what individuals were doing, and then how you can work with a kid Monday through Friday to continue to improve. And that's exciting. I mean, that's really exciting, you know, and it's also, you get to know these kids too, because you get to know what they're doing in their lives. So when in swimming, you're talking to them one-on-one, and you understand they're doing things great in school, or they're doing things outside of the swimming pool. That's really important. And it really does build community, I think. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And what were some of the tools you used to grow and learn as a swim coach coming from a non-swimming background? Obviously, there's a great wealth of knowledge that you have now and things that you do, and I'm sure that you'll be understated with. But what were some of the resources that you found valuable and things that you did to help yourself grow on the detail side of the sport?
Every other coach on deck. I can talk about all the clinics, and I can talk about all the things you can go on YouTube, and we can do all that. But at the end of the day, those individual conversations with every single coach, and even some athletes, right? You'd see them do things in the water that were really, really good, and not to be afraid to ask that athlete, what did you just do there? Explain to me how you do it. What do you do? How do you make yourself better? So at the end of the day, I just stolen a lot of stuff from other coaches. That's really what it is. I mean, even today, you'll sit, you've got some time between a splash, and and you're talking with another coach, and the back and forth is so great. And you're going to always kind of cull something out of that conversation. And that's probably bottom line. That's probably it. So
that's awesome. I think that's something that makes both of you unique in the way that you try to learn and grow and ask questions and let other people be a part of your lives. Because you realize everybody has something to offer and you don't know everything. You can never be at a point where you say, I've arrived. That's something I stress to our SwimStrong staff all the time. The reason we have 8 other staff members is because we're all good at different things. And when we work together, it's going to bring the best result for the athletes, coaches, and parents we serve. But you guys have a really unique setup because you have really great relationships even with other teams in your area. And sometimes you'll even train, like Leah, you'll go and train, like tonight, I believe you're training with Cumberland, and you'll go back and forth and you have communication with the coaches and the athletes, and sometimes they'll come over and you'll go over there. How did that happen? Talk about that relationship, because I feel like a lot of times, especially if you're in the same state, coaches can be like cutthroat, and you guys are like practicing with each other. So how did that develop, and what's the mindset around that?
Tom, do you want to answer this one, or do you want
I can. I mean, you're right, Eric. I mean, she's, she came from Cumberland, right? And I think geographically, and Leah can correct me if I'm wrong, Cumberland at the time when she left Cumberland to come to us, I think we're a little closer. It probably was a wash as far as distance went, but they didn't run a USA program. We did, right? I mean, I think that was the biggest reason that they came, up to Blair. But I think I do think, all right, maybe we'll pat ourselves on the backs here. I think both of us are pretty friendly, pretty outgoing, pretty engaging with other folks. And so when she can go back to Cumberland and work with Brian and that works out really well. She also gets an opportunity to work out with another really good swimmer in Daniel Deal. That's something that I can't provide her when we're going one-on-one, but she also takes the opportunity to go up and work with NLAC, right? So she's had that opportunity to work out with, the likes of Jade Castro and Molly Workman and folks like that, and NLAC's a huge club, right? Up in State College. And they've always been very welcoming. All these programs have been really, really welcoming. And probably it has a lot to do with the fact that Leah's a pretty nice person, right? Well, it's true. She can be a little bratty at times. But if she at 17, if she wasn't, there'd be something wrong, right?
So what for Leah, for you? So when you do things like that and you travel and train with different teams on days like that on certain weeks, what's that experience like for you as a swim athlete, getting to have those different experiences in your day-to-day training?
It's really nice because it's not just me, you know what I mean? Like it's again what I always come back to, a preview of college. I'm going to have people around me, which is just great because everything with Tom is great. It's so mentally challenging because it is alone, And so whenever I do get those opportunities to be with people, I definitely love to take advantage of that and just soak up that moment with people.
Well, talk about, Leah, your guys' training setup. So it is unique that you guys train one-on-one, which I think is amazing to have that opportunity. And you guys are doing incredible things. And I'll ask you guys a little bit about the training in a minute, but just talk about how that scenario came up where you guys were like, hey, we really think we can do something special, and we're going to zone in on this and really make the most of it. Because you're right, it does take a really tough mindset, which you have, to be that disciplined and consistent from both sides, coach and athlete. So Leah, if you don't mind just kind of starting from your perspective, kind of how that came together in the first place and what that's like for you, training individually each day.
Yeah. So during whenever COVID hit and all the pools were shut down, my mom got in touch with Tom and was like, hey, I don't think what the Y was doing, because the Y was, everything was shut down, but she was like, I don't think what the Y was doing is good, or I don't really, she just said like, she needs more individual attention. She needs just focused. And so everything happened with Tom and we started working together, and whenever you do that, it is, it's just you. But with a certain mindset, you can do it. Because like some people, I tell some swimmers I swim alone, and they're like, how? But I think if you were put in that position that you had to, I think everyone could do it. And I think it would be so beneficial because it teaches you to just be so motivated, laser focused and self-disciplined. Definitely. You would definitely grow with that. So that's
awesome.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, Tom, what led you to decide, hey, I'm willing to commit this type of time and attention and effort?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of, I knew this was coming. I mean, you get an athlete like Leah, and and Mom's call wasn't as kind as Leah's. And I don't think Jess would be upset if I said it. And she goes, basically, so what the heck's going on? Are we? We had no water in Western Pennsylvania. We were, and we were literally, we knew. I had this number on my whiteboard in my office. It was 2.72, and Leah knows what that is. We were 2.72 seconds off of qualifying for Olympic trials in the 100 back, and we had no water. And so, how do you get there? What are we going to do? And so, I think her mom kind of, I didn't really have a good plan, but I think her mom kind of kicked me in the backside, and I think in a good way, and said, we've got to figure this out. But it was kind of an invitation on her family's, but Leah's family's part, to say, we're willing to do things out of the norm, right? Because, you don't want to say, hey, we're going to go to Arkansas and train because they've got pools. I mean, or whatever. So ultimately it became like, okay, we're going to look in Eastern PA, and we swam. It seemed like every weekend we were in Virginia, right? I mean, we were traveling quite a bit, and because that was the only place we could swim. So, so that's how it evolved. I mean, then she studied virtually as opposed to, going back to school. And so, and when you're kind of put in the position where this athlete is, she's a pretty good athlete. She's done really well. And, we can't sit here and pretend that we're just going to go through the normal paces. It wasn't going to work. And I did, I was the aquatics director, the head swim coach, and Leah's coach, at one point, and it wasn't going to work. So ultimately, I made some changes in my life that was the right thing to do professionally. But it also allowed me to just say, look, I'm going to be focused solely on one athlete, and stepped away from that head coaching role at the Y. And, I'm sure there are some people who rolled their eyes or, had some concerns about that. But at the end of the day, it had to be done. I mean, you can't just, and so it's worked out. So.
Well, and I mean, I was going to say the results are obvious. I think it takes a lot of guts on both sides to make that decision and say, hey, this is how we're going to train. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do something unique that a lot of other people aren't doing. And it's always difficult when you're doing something that's different from other people. And so, of course, you're going to get some feedback, I'm sure, from people who it's not okay. I always think it's funny when people talk about people who are successful, because like, okay, you can continue to talk about what we're doing and what I'm doing, and then you can continue to be where you are. And you do the talking, and I'll just keep working.
And the thing is, I would add, and Leah knows this, we opened up our practice to anyone who wanted to join us. We have,
that was on the Y.
I thought, that was literally, if you want to come work out with Coach Tom and Leah Shackley, you show up. We'll get you a lane. I'm not changing too much of the workout, but we'll modify. We'll do that. So, and
that's awesome.
that still goes on today. We still have a couple athletes that will still take advantage of coming and working out with Leah. So, and that's a great thing for them. Yeah,
they should. Yeah, both time with you and time with Leah. That's an awesome opportunity as an athlete. I hope a lot of people take advantage of that. And that kind of goes along with the mindset of, so like Leah, when you were interviewing for the SwimStrong small group team, that was something that I thought was very unique, because you do have to have a discipline, a drive that, a coach isn't standing over you when you're in the small group team. It's you and you, right? And you had that experience, and it made you an awesome fit. And I was blown away at your background and discipline. And what's been really cool is, like, over the years, getting to know you more as a person has been the most joyful part of the whole process. I knew you'd be a good fit. I could tell your character and your mindset, but like Tom said, getting to know you as a person has been the most rewarding thing ever. Even just being on a pool deck with you at the same time, you can't help but smile. Like you can't help it. Because you
Thank
just,
you, Eric.
it's true. Like you bring so much positive energy and make people around you just feel great about themselves. And that is rare. And so, but can you talk, Leah, a little bit about your experience with the small group team, why you started doing SwimStrong Dryland, how it's been beneficial for you? And I don't ask this as like a sales pitch for SwimStrong, just you personally, like what's your experience been like, why you started it, and kind of what's been the most beneficial for you in your eyes?
I started it because I needed some type of guidance in the gym that was towards swimming. Because, you know, you can get just like anyone, like a personal trainer or anything like that, but it's not what you need for swimming. And so that's why my eyes went straight to, I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is just what I need. And, you know, we started about 2 years ago, right? 2?
2,
Yeah.
3. Yes.
I've been with you a long time, but I loved it, and I just took off with it, and I kept going, and I think it's great. I have people that come up and ask me all the time, and I just tell them, if you want something that is focused for swimming, this is what you need, because it is so beneficial in that way.
What type of mindset have you had to have to be successful with it? Because anybody who is in the program knows, hey, you can do SwimStrong Dryland, but it's not gonna like make any difference if you don't actually do it, right? Like there's a difference between being a part of it and doing it. So what mindset do you feel like has been most helpful for you to be consistent with it on your own?
I would just say having consistency. I know that sounds crazy, but just being very consistent with it and making it a priority in my day that this is what I need to do before or after practice. That's probably, I would say, what.
That's wild, because that's super simple. Like, you know, people are like,
it is.
what is Leah Shackley doing with her swim and her dryland? And we'll dive into the swim with Coach Tom here in a little bit too. And from a dryland perspective, she's saying, I'm doing it. I'm doing it consistently.
Just being consistent. Yeah. I mean, like, it's not, you know, anything with training, I feel you just have to be consistent and you will see results. It's nothing crazy. Just work hard and be consistent. Those are my 2 things I think of.
I love it. I hope that everybody listening realizes that Leah Shackley is not superhuman and just magically does something so wildly different from anything anybody's ever heard of. It's just, what's wildly different is she's wildly consistent. And I think people don't realize that, and that adds up. And so I always tell athletes and coaches, our job, our grind, so to speak, is to make sure you have the best programming and resources and support possible. Your grind is to just implement it, to execute it and do it at a high level. And it's the same thing with the swimming, and trusting Coach Tom with the programming that he's creating at a really high level. But on the note of the small group team, Coach Tom, I have always admired your viewpoint of SwimStrong and coaching as a whole, because you've never been, oh, this is my thing, nobody else is going to be a part of it. You know, I work with Leah and nobody else is going to. You guys like work with different teams. You have reached out to me publicly and said, you know, like, I think this is awesome. I'm not doing the dryland side of things. I love that she's working with you guys, but that's not always coaches' responses. A lot of times coaches might be like, I want to be kind of in control of every aspect of this athlete's growth for whatever reason. And I'm wondering, like, why aren't you like that? What did you see about SwimStrong that you're like, hey, I trust you guys, do your thing and I'll do my thing and we'll communicate? And I find that very rare, and it's very commendable.
Well, I think, you know, I'm always a big believer in 2-way streets, right? Leah's got to trust the process, and she has trusted the process, but I've got to trust her to do the right thing, that that she's going to do the right thing. And I think that has worked. You know, I know that there are days when she has to work, when she goes down to Cumberland or she goes to New Jersey to train or she goes to State College, that I know she's going to have some fun. And that's what I'm actually hoping for, because that's the she gets that opportunity to kind of interact with other athletes so that she doesn't with me. But I also know that when she gets in the water, she's going to work her ass off. Right. And so I think that's real, that to me is probably the most important thing. I will tell you, I tend to be a little hyper protective of her. I think that would be, I don't want to say it like, she just does what she wants and it's all work. I will tell you a funny story if I can about the beginnings of SwimStrong with Leah Shackley. She was working out with a trainer at the Y, good guy, helping her out, a lot of resistance training and things like that. She was young. And I think, and Leah can correct me on the details if she needs to, but some woman said that her daughter works out with this group called SwimStrong Dryland or some Dryland thing, right? And that she really ought to look at it. And she writes the name and the email or website or whatever it was on a piece of paper. And Leah gives it to me, and I'm like, "This is what the heck is this?"
Yeah,
it's some virtual thing that's going to make and the woman apparently it was a mom said her daughter's a swimmer and she's doing great, and I'm thinking, and this is going to come off as a little arrogant, and I'm sorry, but I'm sitting here going, well, Leah Shackley at this time was 14 years old when all this was going on. She was arguably the best swimmer in the area. And I'm not just talking 14-year-olds. I'm talking collegiate. She was this girl that's getting this great training from this, whatever the heck you are down in Florida. Right. So, I would, right, Leah, I think it's fair to say, I was like, a little suspect.
No,
but
yeah, he definitely.
Check it out. And I'm not so, so driven that I'm going to say no, absolutely not. But I did want to know what was going on, and so that's how it started. So you weren't, it wasn't all sunshine from the beginning, from my perspective. It was cautious. I was very cautious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he gave some pushback, definitely.
But I wasn't going to do the Dryland, right? I mean, I had 3 jobs, and Dryland just wasn't going to happen. So it worked. I mean, it was fantastic, but it wasn't going to be. We're just not going to jump into the pot and see what it is. So.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and the way that you should approach things as a coach, like, okay, what is going on here with and that's there's so many things that are out there when athletes come to us with, I saw this thing online about this nutrition plan or this piece of education around like the mindset or this how you should recover or taper. I watched this YouTube video, and so like you as a coach, it's your job to be able to help filter that, right? And it's like, okay, there's a lot of stuff out there that's not that good, and you should rightfully so be very protective about what our athletes step into. So and the challenging part about that is then keeping an open mind to be like, okay, well, I don't know what it is, but let's see what it is. And so what was that next step after the initial, like, I don't know what the heck this is. Do we really even need help? What was the next step that you started to realize, like, oh, maybe there is some value in this?
Well, it happened pretty quickly. I mean, when she started talking about it, I think she might have talked to you. I'm not sure how that process was. It was truly a thing for her. I was curious about cost and things. Obviously, that comes into play. But it was I think we had just enough information to feel comfortable initially. And then when she started doing the workouts and I would see, what she was doing, and she would talk about what she was doing, and she really seemed pretty excited about it. I think it was genuinely she worked out with a great guy at the Y. I think she would acknowledge that. It was really, he helped her out a lot, but he wasn't a swimming guy and there wasn't a swimming focus. And so when you take a kid like Leah Shackley, who just loves swimming, right? And then you can put something into her daily, regimen of, swimming, but also now lifting that's going to benefit swimming. It was pretty quick turnaround. And we started seeing results pretty quickly, in all fairness. I mean, we can look at her now. And she's physically so much stronger than she was half a year ago, 2 years ago. It's good quality growth because what you two were talking about earlier, consistency. She's doing it on a regular basis. So a whole lot of athletes out there, the good Lord gives them this blessing, but they don't take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. Leah's takes advantage of every opportunity she's given. So
yeah. So, and then can you talk a little bit too, just about the relationship between you and me, just kind of how there's a open line of communication. If you ever have a question, if you ever want to reach out, how just like, I don't want coaches to ever be afraid to reach out. And our job, I tell whether it's a small group athlete or the club teams that we're working with, is to serve your guys' season plan. Hey, here's my champ, and Leah's really great about communicating. Here's my championship meet schedule. Here's what I'm focusing on. Here's what I'm doing based on what Coach Tom has me doing. And so the Dryland needs to be aligning with that schedule. Can you just talk a little bit about that as a coach in terms of like just being confident in the communication?
Yeah, I would say that we've never had a concern, on that end. If, I think the first time I met you was on deck in Greensboro. I knew then that you were genuinely interested in Leah's growth. That is all you were concerned about. And that's all I'm concerned about. Right. I mean, and so to be able to have a conversation that back and forth and to understand what you guys are doing and what your objectives are, and basically be able to have a conversation with you and say, I'd like to see a little more, of this type of work or that type of work. And you guys are really willing to incorporate the things that we're looking for, without getting too sales pitchy for you guys. I would recommend to the level athlete that you guys are working with. I would say, I know for a fact that you're going to answer to those needs of a coach, and you're not going to interfere with their training, with the training that's going on. You understand when it's time to take a break. We can't lift X number of days before, this meet or whatnot. And you're pretty, so that's, that part of the relationship is huge. But I think also just, when I'm on deck and you're running around, I love it that you kind of treat all of these SwimStrong athletes as kind of part of, I don't want to say another team, but I'll say it, like your team, I think that's a good thing. Some coaches may not think that's good, so that may not be a good thing to say for you. But I like it because I think one of the things from our perspective, Leah, again, having only working out, by herself, I think she feels that the kids in the program at SwimStrong are her teammates. Right. And so she has not only teammates maybe here in central Pennsylvania, but she has teammates in New Jersey and in Florida and California. And I mean, we're all over the place. So that's a cool thing. So, that's awesome. Then when she went off to OTC and she's going off these meets, she meets all these kids that she gets to kind of hang out with. And so it actually makes the meet opportunity, the competition opportunity, a little smoother and puts her a little more at ease.
Yeah, that's awesome insight. Thanks for sharing all that, and absolutely love that concept of a team with people from around the country or a family that Leah mentioned that in the beginning. We talk about the SwimStrong family a lot because we want people to have each other's backs, and we genuinely love watching the athletes grow as people and as swim athletes, and being a part of your life, Leah, all the athletes' lives, and the coaches who they work with it's a genuine privilege and pleasure. And so being able to see you, Coach Tom, and you, Leah, in the way that you implement things day to day, it's inspiring. And I want to, and as beneficial as the Dryland is, the number one thing that benefits a swim athlete is swimming, right? Like that's the majority of your results are going to come from in the water. Dryland is a great supplement that can make a big difference, but nothing can supplement the swimming. And you guys are doing a phenomenal job with that. And I want to dive a little bit into that because, I mean, you look at the results, I don't know if there's anyone doing it better than you guys. And so I want to just pick your brains a little bit here in the time we have remaining. And first, Leah, maybe you could just share a little bit about what is the style of training with Tom? What's the training look like in the pool in terms of workouts you do on a day-to-day basis? Just a little insight into a day in the life of Leah as a swim athlete.
Okay. Oh boy, Tom, what type of training I guess we're more right now we're in an aerobic part of swimming, I would say. Like we're just doing heavy aerobic sets, not really working on speed, just having strength in the water, if that makes sense. And then closer to March, I'd say, Tom, right?
February.
We will start working on more sprint related practices, I'd say. But that honestly, I feel like this is more of a Tom question because he's the one that takes care of that. He's the brain.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, we don't have a long course pool. I mean, Leah
That's
doesn't
crazy too.
Leah doesn't, Leah doesn't practice in a long course pool. Leah doesn't practice 4 hours a day. It's, I think what we had to do comes back to football is we had to create intensity. We had to create literally high level intensity practices. Now we are doing more distance. We're doing, she's, especially when she's working with Daniel, she's working anywhere from 6,000 to 8,000 yards, right? In a practice. When she's with me, she's probably working closer to 5,000 to 7,000 yards. And so we'll continue to do that, but the level of intensity is determined based on the level of the volume of yardage, and that's, any coach knows that, right? That's pretty simple. But because we don't have a long course pool, and because she's qualified for trials in 4 events now, and we're going to continue to go there, we don't have many opportunities. The closest long course pool indoors is in Pittsburgh, which is 2 hours away. Outdoors is State College, but for Leah, that's almost 2 hours from where she lives.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing. So we're constantly, one of the things we do a lot of stuff. We introduced, we do a lot of dead start stuff. We do a lot of what I call early turns. And then these are the things that I'm picking brains and looking for things like we talked about a little bit earlier. How can we make Leah, so instead of swimming, so when we're training for long course, we're doing 125s early turns, on the first on the way out. We're doing 225s. We're doing 75s. We're not doing 50s, 100s, and 200s. We're just adding that extra 9 yards, if you will, but it's 25. And then we're forcing her to do dead starts because that's the only thing we've got. We just don't have a long course pool, so it's more of intense practices. I push her pretty hard. I'm not using the color chart necessarily, but I do know the difference between her back being white, pink, or red, right? And we know where we're at. So, yeah.
Leah, what is your either favorite or least favorite Tom workout that you do that maybe you repeat every once in a while?
Oh boy. Well, recently he's been having me do now, okay, so the water's like 82 degrees at the Y where I swim, 82, 83. And he'll have me do like 8 or 10 200s on the 230. And in that pool, it sounds like pretty simple, right? No. It's the worst. I'm like red, but it's just, it's either 8 or 10 200s, but like, I don't know if it's the pool. I don't know, but it is so hard for me. And he does that a good bit, so.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I mean, so listen up, people. Leah Shackley, 82-degree water, no long course training, and is doing the things that she's doing because she has a mindset and a consistent work ethic. And I just think that's amazing. Like that you don't have an excuse, right? Like, no, what would you say, Leah, to someone who is like, oh yeah, I don't have long course access, or I don't have the greatest setup for training, or there's always somebody who has an excuse for why they can't do what you're doing, right? They'll see you and be like, whoa, like how it like, and like, you're not like the tallest person in the world. Like you're not, like 6'3" or anything like that. Like, but you're doing the things you're doing. And I think it's pretty incredible, but a lot of people would just write themselves off and say, I could never be like that. What would you say to the person who has those 10,000 excuses in their pocket of why they can't do what you're doing?
There's every reason not to, you come up with any excuse, but there's never a reason to try or to just go with. And it's sad. A lot of people do make excuses, but if you really look at a picture, you can do a lot with what you have just by maximizing it. And a lot of people miss that. They just want to say, oh, I don't have this. Oh, I don't have that. Okay, well, look, you can make what you have into something like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And you guys, just as we wrap up here, because I know you guys have to hop off, what are some of the goals that you're excited thinking about here in the next year that you're looking to accomplish? Crazy dreams, and we can start with Leah and then go Tom. But what are some of the things that you're like, hey, this is what we're looking at, and what we're hoping to accomplish?
Tom, do you want to go?
Nope, you're going. You're on the spot.
Or do you want me to go? Me?
Because I want to hear it.
Okay. So the number one thing is I want to make the national team. I missed it by like that much last year, so I want that national team. I mean, Olympics would be incredible. I got a lot of work to do, but Olympics, I have my eye on that, I think. And a NAG record. I want a NAG record. So I think those are the three things.
Those are awesome. National team, Olympic team, and a national age group record. I love the.
You gotta get it though. You gotta work for it.
That's awesome. Tom, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think I've used this line since the first media interview about her, and I said I will never bet against Leah Shackley. I will never bet against her. We understand the idea of making the team is for a 17-year-old is pretty rare, and there's some really incredible athletes that she's going to be swimming against. That's going to be tough, but the work that she'll put in, just like the work they're going to put in, we'll see how it plays out. But right now she's in a really good position to grow and to continue to get stronger. I think those three goals that she has are outstanding. And then, if we don't make the Olympic team, there's always that Pan Pac team that will be kind of fun to go make a trip in the late summer as well. And then she's going to do great in college. So she's already got times that, I'm sure people would, that I'm sure they're starting to see. So
So I love those goals that you guys mentioned. I also, like Tom, have nothing but utter belief in Leah Shackley. Every time she gets in the pool, I'm just like, I don't really care who else is next to her, because I just feel like it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And because she's Leah Shackley, and so I love watching her swim. So those goals are definitely within your grasp. And I think it's so fun to hear you talk about them and say them out loud. A lot of people are afraid to say those things out loud. And, don't get
me wrong. It took me a long time. Trust, like me, over my junior year, last year, we really worked on my confidence, because I would like die if I heard myself just say those goals like a year ago. So but I think that's all part of the process too. You just have to be honest with yourself and grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, honestly, being able to, you talked about just a second ago, working on confidence, working on, that is really important, and something a lot of people don't ever focus on. They're like, oh, I'm just not confident. I don't feel comfortable like reaching for these big dreams. I'm afraid of failure. And then it just stays like that. But you said, I'm working on it, right? So there's a difference between working on that mindset consistently and just being like, oh, this is what it is. Hopefully it will change over time. And I just think that's amazing. So, but I can't wait to see all the things that you're going to do this year. I can't wait to see all the things you're going to do with the Wolfpack in the next 4, in the next Olympic quad. You guys are doing some incredible things in this sport right now. It's inspiring to see, not just for me, but for people across USA Swimming, and I'm sure World Aquatics. And people should be scared of Leah Shackley. That's what I have to say. So that's what I have to say about this. So thank you guys so much for taking the time. Thank you for all that you do. I appreciate you so much, and just continue to be you.
Great.
Thank you, Eric.
It was fun. Thanks, Eric.
You got it, guys. Thanks so much for being on here.
Thank you for listening to the SwimStrong Dryland Podcast. If you'd like to be a part of the SwimStrong Dryland family, you can reach out to us via email or social media. You can also follow SwimStrong Dryland on YouTube and TikTok for more educational content.